Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kant's oh my god, I messed up the intro again. The comprehensive yet informal study of Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. We're here in the systematic representation of all synthetic principles. My goodness gracious, it feels like we've been here forever. But we're almost done. We are at the refutation of idealism, which should, I think, be the end of the section. Don't actually know. That's just from my vague memory of how this ginormous book is organized. We're here. We started it last time. We got through the intro and this which was up here. Oh wait, no, it wasn't. It was up here, and where he in the usual sort of academic Kantian writing way, introduces his goal and like what he'll be doing. And although a little more unusual for Kant is to directly name drop his interlocutors in his, at least the Critique of Pure Reason. I got to read more of Kant's works, but it seems like from what even I know from those, he name dropped his interlocutors more often in his personal correspondence as opposed to his works. But no, here he's name dropping. He says I'm going after Descartes, who has problematic idealism, and Berkeley, who espouses dogmatic idealism. So we're getting why are they dogmatic and problematic? He went into that a little bit. In the intro, and then we got to this theorem where he was really attacking Descartes. I think I'm still confused on this. I'm gonna be honest, and I said I would look into it a little last time. I did a little. I asked. Well, I didn't directly ask. Like, I was in my Husserl and Kant graduate seminar, and so um, my professor brought up this moment of talking about the outside consciousness and or not outside, but like outer sense, inner sense, and how they're sort of mutually dependent, and Kant tried to give a proof of that, and I'm still pretty confused. It seems like he's saying that. Well, okay, actually, so the little bit of insight and clarity that I got from the seminar, um, something like this. Just remembering so I can say it right. Um, 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 Inner sense can only happen, I suppose. I want to, my initial like instinct was to say exist, but Kant has very specific word for existence that we were, going over and interrogating, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but anyway, so inner sense can only like um and so I'll just say exist. It's just exist in some sense, because of outer, because the outer is affecting it. Because right, inner sense is the capacity to be affected. So to be affected, there has to be an outside affecting, and I think that is what he was. Well, let's see this theorem. The mere but empirically determined consciousness of my own existence proves the objects uh, in space outside me. So that's kind of what he was saying, right? To be affected. At least it seems. That was the explanation. Because this made very little sense to me, but from what I could gather, it seems to be like what my professor was saying. To be affected, there has to be an outside world in which that is affecting you. Um, However, in terms of like our judgment and our experience, and this is not my professor talking, this is just sort of my like uh, 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 own inference and inferring here. But in terms of judgment, I think inner sense is still primary because experience works primarily through time determinations as opposed to spatial determinations, because spatial determinations depend first on time. And if you want to know more about that, you can look at the analogies of experience, postulates of experience, and like specifically like causality, and substance, right? Because substance persists over time. I'm pretty sure that's like the first either analogy or postulate. I'm probably mixing them up. It's a lot to keep in mind. I'm sure I'll continue to go back to this book probably for the rest of my life and work this stuff out. But and it's also found primarily in the transcendental aesthetic as well. So go back if you want to know more about those and ask questions, and I'll go back and if you have questions, and we'll get into that. So. But anyway, so that's where we were at. We did last time, and now we're at note 1. Uh, so, Kirk, I don't know. I'm here with Kirk today. Don't know if you have any
I,
questions or
that's
about
that's
anything
good.
I've
With,
said or preliminary
could I just read
remarks.
first? Or?
Yeah, if you're just ready to read, feel free. Get us started. Thank you.
Sure. See, I start saying note one.
Yep.
One will realize that in the preceding proof, the game that idealism plays with greater justice has been turned against it. Idealism assumed that the only immediate experience is inner experience, and that from that outer things could only be inferred, but as in my case, in which one infers from given effects to determine causes, only an unreliability, since the causal representations that we perhaps falsely ascribe to outer things can also lie in us. Yet here it is proves that outer experience is really immediate, that only by means of it is possible, not
Maybe could you read this?
the immediate
Yeah.
consciousness of the existence of outer things is not presupposed but proved in the preceding theorem, whether we have insight into the possibility of this consciousness or not. The question about the latter would be whether we can have only an inner sense but no outer one, or as a merely outer imagination, but it's clear that in order for us to even to imagine something as external, i.e., to exhibit it to sense and intuition, we must already have an outer sense, and by this means already distinguish the mere receptivity of an uh,
Outer.
outer intuition from the spontaneity that characterizes every imagining. For even merely to imagine outer sense would annihilate the faculty of intuition, which we determine through the imagination.
So he gives a little contents to be clear, in my opinion, when he's like doing these footnotes or just running notes to himself that the translators translate for us, which is very nice. So yeah, he says here. I guess let's break this down before we continue. Note 1 itself, but this little add-on here. The immediate consciousness of the existence of outer things not presupposed. And he says it's proved. It's clear for us to even imagine something external, to exhibit it, to sense it, already have an outer sense, right? Space. So to even imagine something, right? Like pictorially, I think I think that's the only way in which you can imagine things in Kant, at least is how he's presented the imagination thus far. I mean, obviously not just like that involves conceptual, it involves the understanding, but still, results in some sort of pictorial, results in some sort of picture. Um, that space is just a possibility, precondition for that. Um, so he says the question is no longer do we have outside sense or not. It's can we only have an inner sense but no outer one? But yeah, to imagine something in our heads assumes that we have space to work with to present that picture to our own minds, even if that's quote unquote inside of us. So, okay. Um, he actually says something down here that I might read just while I'm talking, and then I'll let Kirk go back to note 1. But what does it say here? According to the revised preface, the sentence is to be replaced by the following. This persistent thing, however, cannot be an intuition in me. Which persistent thing? This is A. I don't know where A is. Oh. This persistent thing, however. Okay, yeah, what is he. What is he talking about? Cannot be an intuition in me. For all grounds of determination of my existence that can be encountered in me are representations, and as such require something persistent and distinct from even just requires something that is distinct even from them, in relation to which they're changed. Thus, my experience in this time, they change can be determined. Uh, So I think he just was kind of repeating it, and that's why he didn't. Or actually, no, he was saying it should be the following sentence should be replaced. Oh, so he's just saying a similar thing. Um. Trying to decide which one I like better. I don't know. I'm not going to decide that now. We still have notes to get through, and we're still in the middle of note one. So, okay, that's an interesting fact. Although I don't think it provides so much insight based on what I've said from the introduction. So, anyway, Kirk, do you want to pick up from this
Yeah.
sentence yet here?
Yeah. So let me see. Yeah, here it is proved that our outer experience is really immediate. The only by means of it is possible not to be sure, the consciousness of our own existence, which is
Oops, sorry.
determination time, i.e., inner experience. Of course, the representation I am, which expresses a consciousness that can accompany all thinking, is that which immediately excludes the existence of a subject in itself, but not yet any cognition of it. That's not empirical cognition, i.e., experience. For that, to that, there belongs, besides the thought of something, existing intuition, and in this case, inner intuition, i.e., time in regard to which the subject must be determined, for which other objects are absolutely requisite, so that inner experience itself is consequently only immediate and possible only through outer experience.
Yeah. So here he's saying, which expresses the consciousness that can accompany all thinking. Yeah, the I am, the I think, therefore I am, is not a cognition like Descartes was saying. So this is, I think, where his critique started up here. um, but and well, actually, we can probably just, now that we've read the whole note, we can break it down maybe from the beginning. That might be the most helpful. So it starts out pretty just straightforward, summarizing what he did. Right, I said idealism plays with the greater justice and turns against it. Right, in this way of like what he calls problematic idealism. Right, what he would call as well probably Cartesian idealism. Right, kind of called Descartes out by name, like I was saying in the introduction here. Uh, Only the self can be trusted. Right, I think therefore I am. It's the indubitable truth. Right, therefore only um, things can only be inferred that are outer, but what is known for certain is the I think therefore I am. The cogito. So, um, but Kant saying, well, for you to even have a notion of yourself empirically, right? Because that's what this theorem is, empirically determined consciousness. Something needs to be affecting you to even have that sense of yourself. Uh, and then he goes say, of course, the representation I am, which expresses the consciousness that can accompany all thinking. So now I'm thinking he's moving from the empirical consciousness to the transcendental consciousness of the transcendental unity of our perception, which is very different, right? Very different. If you don't understand that, I would go back, but I can, I'll briefly talk about that here as it's relevant to what he's saying. Um, the I am, which expresses the consciousness accompanying all thinking. The I think, right, unifies. It's the rule that combines, unifies, the intuited manifold. Which actually, interestingly enough, Kant actually implies the existence of two, and if you want two manifolds, and if you want to see the difference, go back. I remember Pat and I getting frustrated. I'm trying to, can't remember which section it was in. I think it was in the transcendental schema section. We were getting really frustrated because he's like, why is he saying like general intuition, sensible intuition? And my professor was saying that yes, Kant actually does conceive of two different types of manifolds, one that involves space and time, that one that doesn't. So thought that was interesting, and I wish I knew that when we were doing it, but we're just learning as we're going along, which is one of the points of this study in the first place. So maybe not as ridiculous as it first sounded, but go back to the transcendental scheme if you're interested in that. But yeah, anyway, so the I think must accompany all thinking, and I am expresses it, right? I am, right? I think, therefore I am. Like I am expresses the I that exists, the I that is in the I think. So the consciousness, the thinking, the I, the consciousness. This is different from empirical, right? Because there's no cognition of it. That's not empirical cognition. No experience. So there's no experience. There's nothing. This is the interesting. People are in a Zizek. This is the empty subject that constitutes reality. At least to my understanding. It's empty in the sense of it has no material, right? It's what Kant was saying. All concepts without intuitions are empty. This is the concepts of all this is like in some sense it's the concept responsible for all conceptual understanding, right? Kant says that the I think is responsible for the understanding itself. He says that I think right before the I was just reading it for my class the other day. I think it's right before the deduction. Um, when he's talking about the old like theological metaphysicians and how they were saying being, truth, and then something else are the most important. He says that we need to find the that which is responsible for the understanding itself, something like that. So this is the it's that which is most fundamental to our experience, yet it's empty. It is empty. There's no cognition. Thus, not empirical cognition, and there's no experience. There's no experience of this. I think. Therefore, I am. There's just, but it's there. It's just unity. It just is, but it's empty. There's no substance to it. Um, and that is much different from the empirical. I think he thinks that Descartes is talking about the empirical. Otherwise, why would he be saying this? Right, as a theorem that's supposed to disprove Descartes, right? But is empirically determined. So he's concerned mainly with the empirical stuff. But then he separate. Of course, this is different from transcendental I. Uh, um, for there that belongs something exists intuition. Right. Inner intuition time. All right, so everything's to be cognized. At the very least, we need inner sense time. But of course, that implies outer sense. But inner. This is back to I think what I was saying at the beginning. Uh, Inner sense is fundamental for the cognition first, but for inner sense to exist, I suppose outer sense is necessary. It's what he's saying here. A little confusing. My professor has some critiques of it, which he doesn't really well, he didn't really get into because the we're gonna get to this later in my class. So I'll be excited to hear what he says. So anyway, note two. Kirk, if you're up to read again, I've just been talking for a little while, so if you want to read again, go ahead. Or I can read, but it's up to you.
I can read. I mean, just let me do something real quick. I got to text somebody.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh yeah, okay. I think I can read now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so
We're at note
let's
two.
see. Note two: all use of our faculty of cognition and experience for determination of time agrees with this completely. Not only can we perceive all time determination only through the change in atom relations, motion relative to that which persists in space, e.g., the motion of the sun with regard to the objects on the earth. Why do we do not even have anything persistent on which we could base a concept of the substance as intuition, except merely matter? Even this persistence is not drawn from outer experience, but also presumed a priori as a necessary condition for all time determination. Thus, also as a determination of inner experience, which when existence through the existence of other things, consciousness of myself and the representation I is no intuition at all, but a merely intellectual representation of the self-activity of a thinking subject, and hence this I does not have the least particular intuition. As persistent could serve as a correlate for time determination innocence, as we say, essay, essay in penetrability in matter, as does.
Great, thank you. There's an end note. There's been a lot of these lately. So I didn't look at 85 either. So I'll look at 85 and yeah, I'll look at 85 and I'll look at 87. Oh, is there 86? 85, 86, 87. Maybe I'll look at those endnotes before breaking down what Kirk just read. This is page 328. So let me open my physical copy of the critique. Handy dandy. I'm tired today. Okay. So 85, 86, 87. So 85. Oh. So, they're all just recommending us uh, other sources for, I guess, where Kant develops these ideas or has developed them earlier. Don't really know, but anyway. So let's get into the actual like substance of this, which is actually funny. This is about substance. So I think what he's doing here, at least just upon Kirk was reading, I think he's trying to just continue on his attacking of Descartes by saying that the I is actually not substantial. To have substance, you need time determination and um, inner sense, but that's not the I. Right? The consciousness of myself in this representation is no I, or the consciousness of myself in this representation I is no intuition at all, merely intellectual representation, the self-activity of the thinking subject. And hence this does not have a persistent, right? So yeah, exactly. This is just not substantial, right? It's not persistent. It's not impenetrable. Um, it's not empirical. It's a merely intellectual representation. I think that's the main thing. I'll go back earlier because I think I was not picking that up as clearly as I was the end. So let's see if I just missed it. All use of our faculty of cognition experience to completely. Yeah, okay. So it just agrees with this completely, right? Yeah, we need. Yeah, okay. Basically, what I said. A lot of it was just hammering down on what I said. Does that make sense, Kirk? Do you have any questions about note one, note two, anything we've done?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I suppose I can read note three. From the fact that existence of outer objects is required for the possibility of a determinate consciousness of ourself, it does not follow that every intuitive representation of outer things includes at the same time their existence. For that may well be the mere effect of the imagination in dreams as well as delusions. But this possible merely through the reproduction of previous outer perceptions, which, as has been shown, are possible only through the actuality of outer objects. Here it had to be proved only that inner experience in general is possible through outer experience in general. Whether this or that putative? Need to do some research. Generally considered or reputed. Oh, so like the one, I guess, responsible. Oh yeah, assumed or so just like the assumed. So whether this or that assumed experience is not mere imagination must be ascertained according to its particular determinations through its coherence with the criteria of actual experience. I got to break that down further. Yeah, because that did not make a whole. It sounds like he's saying like, right, because Descartes was concerned with dreams and delusions. He's like, how do I tell the difference? I actually can't. Right, this was a problem in the meditations. He's like, I can't tell if I'm dreaming or not, guys. This is scary. And Kant says, actually, this is easy as fuck, dude. Just to see if it's coherent with the criteria of actual experience. With Yeah, just with the which I'm guessing these are like something like the postulates of empirical experience. He's probably referring to. But let's see. Just I might have skipped over something else here. So from the fact that the existence of outer objects are current, it does not follow that every intuitive representation of outer things includes at the same time their existence. Right. So dreams and delusions are possible. Right. So he's saying just because I've showed you that we need outer experience for inner experience, that does not mean that everything that we then project into outer experience from the inner is real. Right? He says dreams and delusions; those are real. Like those. Well, no, not those. Like dreams and delusions like exist as dreams and delusions, not as like all equally real things. So he's agreeing with Descartes there. He's saying they exist, but this is possible merely through the reproduction of previous outer perceptions. Um, so he has a very like Humean view in that sense. Right, that's how we like that. For Hume, that's how the imagination works. It's all based on previous things, which of course Kant would disagree with. The imagination in Kant, right? It follows schemata. It follows like principles, a priori principles that are not the case in Hume. But in the case of dreams and delusions, he would agree with Hume that only possible through the reproduction of previous outer perceptions, which has been shown are only possible through the actuality of outer objects. So how do you know, Descartes, that actually we'll get to that, but here it had to be proved only an inner experience in general is possible through the outer. Right, he's saying so all I've done. He's just repeating himself, basically classic Kant.
Bruh.
He's just saying again, what I've done is prove that inner experience is only possible through outer experience, which again, it was confusing the proof of that, but my professor kind of simplified it and says it's the affection, whether this or that. Putative experience on me, right? Yeah, so he's saying, okay, Descartes, you're right. Dreams and delusions exist. However, they only exist because we've seen real things before. So how can you tell if it's a dream or not? Well, look at it through its coherence through the criteria of all actual experience, which again seem to be the postulates. So. Okay, so those are the notes. Kirk, do you have any questions about those notes?
Nothing specific.
Okay. I'm thinking of starting this. It's really long, and we're already a half hour in, so I might want a whole session for this. So I might just call this. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it just a shorter session. Not the shortest. It's about like it's probably a few minutes under like average length, maybe like 30 45 minutes is our average, but I don't know. But yeah, so I'll leave you with that for now. Yeah, so to be empirically determined internally, I need external empirical reality to exist, namely space, for Kant, right? And basically that is different from like Descartes fell into the trap that the I think is empirical, but it's not. Kant's made that difference. The I am is not an empirical thing. The I think is not an empirical thing. Um, and he agrees with Descartes. There are dreams, but delusions, but he thinks they're kind of easily verified as opposed to not. So okay. Definitely not the most exciting engagement I've seen with Descartes. Although I really, being sort of sympathetic to a lot of Zizekian theory, I think this insight into the empty, I think, is really something fascinating, and I'm excited to study further. But okay, Kantian wisdom of the day. Make sure you check your empirical experience with the through the coherence with the criteria of all actual experience, so you can determine whether you're in a dream or a delusion or an empirical reality, as Kant conceives of it. So, namely, again, I think that has to do with the postulates of empirical experience and all the things that are make those possible. So okay, that's it for me. Kirk, do you have any closing remarks?
Nope.
Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time for uh what is we could we probably have just a minute to look ahead a little bit to get a preview what's coming. Perfect. Pertains to material necessity. What is he talking about? Why is this A? Is this just gonna be like? Oh, the text common to the two editions resumes. Oh, oh, all this was just in the B edition. So, so the text resumes. So this wasn't actually Kant putting this here. This was the authors between A and B. I see. Okay. I don't know who he's talking to here. He's not talking about Barclay, at least not by name. Okay. Well, there. Well, then we'll finally. Actually, got. Look at this section, Kirk. You seeing this? We're looking at what we're getting into after refutation of idealism and that general remarks thing.
Yeah.
Phenomena noumena, baby. We at that point we'll have not only traveled through the land of pure understanding and carefully inspected our part, but also surveyed it, determined the place for each thing for it. So we'll be done with the understanding, and then we'll be done with the two faculties of experience, right? Namely sensibility and the understanding. Then we'll get into finally move on. Wow. Although technically we're still in the analytic of principles, which is the power of judgment, doctrine of the power of judgment, which is a whole extra critique on, by the way. And I just learned a few days ago that Kant actually didn't intend on writing through critiques, which was interesting. So makes sense, I guess, why he calls it the doctrine of the power of judgment, but then later comes out with the critique of the power of judgment. So, but the phenomena noumena, yay! Let's get the. So that'll be on a few sessions. We're gonna get through this first this thing. So from I think tomorrow in like the time that I'm recording this, we'll try to tackle as much of this as we can. And then after that we'll be on to the general notes, which will probably be another session. So I'm imagining after in the next probably in 3 sessions we'll get into phenomena noumena is my estimation. Might be a little more if we have to break some things up because these do look long. And we know Kant with long writing is hard and confusing, although we are pretty far and a lot of things have been cleared up, like our old confusion. So, okay, yeah, so there we go. So that's that. We look forward to seeing you next time for more refutation of idealism, where the A edition is coming back. So far it's just the B edition, and we'll see you then. Bye bye. God bless. All that good stuff. Farewell.